My name's Mike, and it's my job to help you make money in different side hustles. I've done this stuff for years, tons of research over the years, looking at apps, platforms, all these gigs. I've done it in different marketplaces. And today I have someone on the channel that's going to help us with a specialty gig that can generate up to $10,000 plus per month. I'm excited to have him here on the channel. Felix Wisniewski, welcome to the channel. Felix, how's it going?
What's up, Mike? Thank you for having me on the channel. Really excited to discuss this on your channel with your audience and excited for what we have going on today.
Folks, I initially met Felix via our YouTube coaching platform, and I saw his niche on his channel, like talks about hustling, not just this, but talking about hustling. So I'm like, hey, we should probably have you on the channel because his specialty, talking to you today, is something that I don't really have any experience in. And so this is going to be a learning opportunity for me as well. So Felix, for our audience that's meeting you for the first time, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Felix Wisniewski. I'm 28 years old. I'm a little bit of a serial entrepreneur, but how I really got my start and kind of made my way is by a business called buying and reselling medical commodities, also known as buying and reselling diabetic testing supplies. I took that, I invested into real estate. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about a few and different businesses that I've tried and done, but medical commodities or diabetic testing supplies is really how I made most of my fortune. And it's basically buying and reselling diabetic testing supplies. There are over 30 million people in America that have diabetes, and they're all supplied with different diabetic testing supplies. I'm sure you know at least one diabetic in your life. If you're not a diabetic, you know at least one diabetic, and they all get extra supplies. And what we do is we buy and resell them back to big name wholesalers / pharmacies. And it's a pretty lucrative business. I kind of stumbled upon it back in 2015 / 2016 and never really had any intention to do it. But lo and behold, it changed my life. So that's why I made some YouTube videos about it. I've shown a few people how to do it, created a course about it, and supplied the internet or the world with more information about it because it's been so impactful to my life and my business.
Well, that's pretty neat to hear. And folks, you know, when we're creating a business, selling a product, course, or service, which is something that we have control over, which I'm a huge fan of, you know, Felix created his business helping people, helping patients ultimately, while creating the business, solving that problem. So Felix, break down, how does this work on like the operational level? You mentioned diabetic testing supplies. So if I'm a patient or, you know, if I'm needing these supplies, how does this all work operationally?
Yeah, so as somebody like myself, like a reseller, what we do is we put out different forms of marketing. So there's a bunch of different forms of marketing. You could be whether you're a marketing wizard or you're not a marketing wizard, it doesn't really matter. But I tell people, think about like a gym, right? Like when a new gym opens up, they put out signs, they put out flyers, they put business cards out, they wear t-shirts, they put stuff on Facebook, you know, they put stuff on Craigslist. There's a bunch of different marketing strategies. So we put out different marketing strategies, basically focusing to people, telling people that we're offering to buy their diabetic testing supplies. And then people call us up, say, hey, you know, I seen your sign, I seen your flyer, I seen your postcard, I seen your business card, I seen your ad on Facebook or Instagram, wherever your advertising was. And what we have is we have like buyers, big name wholesalers / pharmacies that have special licenses to be able to. So we put out advertising saying that we're paying cash for diabetic supplies from, say, you had the extra testing strips or the extra testing meter. You would call us, hey Felix, I seen your sign. We'd go to you, we'd pay you cash, and then we'd pay you, you know, a half to a third of what we already know we could resell it for, because we have price sheets that say, hey, for this box we'll pay you $30, for this box we'll pay you $60, for this box we pay you $50, and then there's a good chance, more than none, that you get those boxes every month or every 2 months. Like for example, my father's a diabetic, he gets 15 boxes a month. There's no way in the world he could use all those 15 boxes. He needs to test his blood sugar. You know, diabetics test their blood sugar. He needs to test his blood sugar 50 times a day to use all the boxes he has. That's just not realistic. So he gives, in the beginning, I used to pay him for the boxes. Now he gives them to me, I sell them, and then we split the profit because he doesn't need them. They're just either going to sit on the shelf or they're going to expire, or they're going to expire and then he's going to throw them out. So that's basically what we're doing. We're putting out advertising for people who are diabetics and have extra diabetic testing supplies. they're selling them to us, and then we're turning around and reselling them to big name wholesalers. And for people who probably say, well, why don't these people resell them to the people that we sell them to? Because they just don't have the contacts. They're a list of groups or companies or businesses that are in this niche where they're putting them back on the shelf. So that's basically what the business consists of. And there's more complex things to know that we'll discuss, but that's basically what it is in an overview.
Well, or they don't want to deal with the hassle of trying to find a wholesaler or someone to sell it to. They're just like, I have this extra stuff. I wanted to ask you about that. So, if I'm a diabetic, you have these supplies. Why would I have excess? And again, I have no idea how this works. This is why I have you on the channel. Like why are these people having all this excess? Is it, who's sending it? The insurance company, the medical provider? Like, why is there an excess there?
Yeah, I mean, the exact reason I may not be able to pinpoint, but I kind of relate it to, I don't know if you've ever been to the doctor. I remember one time I had a toothache, and they it's like a toothache, something in my mouth. And instead of giving me something basic, they gave me a crazy, I think it was oxycodone, but they gave me a huge thing. And it's like,
right.
I'm not even going to take these, because those are people get addicted, and it could really ruin somebody's life. But, that's kind of how they started. It's, in my opinion, the pharmaceutical and the medical field, it's kind of like the same reason they'll keep somebody on, a medicine for years and years and years instead of just coming out with the cure. Do they have the cure to X, Y, and Z disease? Maybe, who knows? That's another topic for another conversation. But I think that there's more money in the Band-Aid than there is in the cure. So it's the same thing, it's like the insurance companies, the doctors, and the pharmacies are all on the same team. And the more, they could bill to the insurance company, the more money they're going to make. So, that's just, there's always, since I've been in this business, someone will tell me, hey, I only need 1 box a month, but I get 5. Or I only need 4 boxes a month, but I get 10. So it's, it's kind of just an oversupply. And then it's crazy because those same boxes actually end up going right back on the shelf because people aren't going to use them.
And they're within their expiration date. Right. And we're not sourcing oxycodone. We're sourcing simple, diabetic testing strips. So, because I wanted to ask about that. I used to work for a healthcare manufacturer. They did, sleep apnea, CPAP masks, and the sleep apnea machines. So, I mean, it's a simple diabetic testing strips and maybe related products. Now I'm thinking, because we are talking, adjacent or, really within the medical space, like legalities, ethicality for it. So talk to me, is there anything that I would need to be worried about if I'm going to start, marketing or trying to source some of these products in my marketplace? Obviously this is not legal advice, folks, but are there any things I should be looking for when it comes to the legal front?
Yeah, as far as buying and reselling diabetic testing strips, it's 100% legal. You can go into any store and buy them right over the counter. The reason that's not really efficient is because they're already at retail value, so there's no profit margins. The reason we make money is because these people get them from their insurance, and when they turn over, it's 100% legal. It's a valid question because it kind of sounds in a way like, well, is it legit or is it not legit? For me to share it on the internet, that would not be ideal if it was something that would get people.
Sure. Exactly.
I've been doing this since I discovered it in 2015 and really got it off the ground in 2016. And it's 100% legit. You can go into the store and buy them. It's for people who don't have insurance. It's actually really insufficient because they're actually pretty expensive. 1 box at retail value could be $150, $200, $250. So they're pretty expensive. But when they get them from their insurance and they're paying a $50, $20, $30 copay, whatever they're paying, and they're basically getting them for free and they're not using them, and we're giving them cash.
Right.
We're taking them and then reselling them to big name wholesalers / pharmacies. Yeah, it's 100% legit. You can, there's no issue as far as buying and reselling, diabetic testing strips. Now, some people might say, hey, well, I seen on Google that you can't buy Medicaid or Medicare boxes, and that is true. But I could tell you in the 6 or 7 years I've been doing this, I've only seen Medicaid or Medicare boxes. I could count on 2 hands how many times I've seen Medicaid or Medicare boxes. They're very rare, and the resale value is close to none on my end. Like when I go to resell, if I wanted to say, hey, let me bypass the system, Mike, and let me buy these Medicaid or Medicare boxes, my wholesale buyer will be like, I don't have any money for you. So it's not like, you're tempted. we only buy boxes that are not Medicaid or not Medicare boxes. Diabetic test strips up and down 100% is totally legit and totally legal.
Well, I'm thinking of it like, and obviously, folks, do your due diligence, dig deeper. And actually, this is a good place, reminding me, we do have more information that Felix has provided, linked to down below, a complete channel dedicated to this stuff, as well as more info, again, linked to down below in the description of this video. But, I think of it like anything else that we have an excess of. Like if we have an excess of anything, I want to get rid of it. I mean, we've seen like lumber, someone puts it out in the front of their yard. Maybe they sell it, maybe they give it away for free. But other stuff, maybe you'll donate it to Goodwill because, I don't know, I got gifted this or whatever. And then, some people will just buy it straight from Goodwill, or they'll source it from Goodwill and then resell it. It's very similar there, finding a niche, an opportunity within the business. So let's talk about next steps here. So there's a market opportunity here, sourcing basically things that people don't need, they have an excess of. And so selling it back to wholesalers. So how does that one actually, again, this is why you want to get more info with Felix, link down below. But how does that kind of back end of that whole process work? Like, okay, I'm going to try to find some of these supplies. Let's say I did find some supplies in my marketplace. Then what? Like I got all these boxes, and obviously this is what you're going to talk about on your channel and more, but like, where do I go from there?
Yeah. So you could do one of two things. So if you don't have the connects that I have, and like Mike said, you can check the link down in the description for more information to, how to gain those connects, because it's kind of a lucrative process, not a lucrative process, but there's certain things you need to know to get access to the buyers that, I sell to. But you could simply say you obtain 3 boxes of something called One Touch Ultra. One Touch Ultra is a brand we buy. It sells for between, depending on who and where you're selling it to, it sells for between $60 and $80 per box. So that's where it could get lucrative. You buy, 10 boxes from a customer and you're paying $20 a box and you're reselling them for $70 a box. 10 boxes times a $50 profit margin. That's a quick $500. Now, keep in mind, that person, good chance more than none, has those boxes either every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. So basically what you're going to want to do is, once you're actually able to acquire these diabetic test strips, if you don't have the buyers that, I use, you could simply just go on eBay. That's what I used to do before I gained access to more, private connects that pay a little bit higher. But you can go on eBay, if you type in whatever type of boxes you have and you go to the bottom and hit sold listings, you can kind of see what they're selling for based on the condition of the box, the name of the box, the expiration date, and you could simply sell the boxes right on eBay. eBay is a huge marketplace. There are, probably millions of dollars in transactions of people buying and reselling diabetic testing supplies. So you could simply sell them on eBay. And there's other, buyers, like the buyers I use, that will go on there and buy the people, whether it's, whether it's people who actually have the diabetic test strip selling their supplies, or maybe a reseller like myself, or maybe somebody like you, or somebody who's new that gets into the business but just doesn't have a direct end buyer. I think you're on mute.
Excuse me there, folks. I was just saying, I appreciate you sharing that. And do drop a like on this video, folks, if you appreciate Felix being on here. And if you want to see him on the channel again, and check out his resources down below. But okay, so now I'm thinking that, yes, there's ways you can do it yourself. Like you said, if there's listings on eBay, what have you. I feel like this is why someone might want to just work with you directly. And this is what, here's the thing, folks, investing in learning rapidly accelerates, mistake making and wasting your time, because this is why I have the courses that I have. We have Mastering Delivery to help you dominate food delivery platforms. We are currently developing Mastering YouTube to teach you how I've created a 6-figure business here on YouTube. These are shortcuts. And it's teaching you proven practices that have worked, so you don't have to take these 7 years that I've done this stuff, the 7, 8 years, what have you, that Felix has done this stuff, to rapidly expedite the process, because I know your time is valuable, folks, and you don't want to waste your time. So Felix, as we kind of land the plane here and get folks this valuable info on this market opportunity, and again, let's just kind of skimming the surface here, what problems, challenges have you kind of dealt with? And again, this is where your expertise comes into play here, but problems, challenges, like roadblocks you've encountered with this hustle?
I would say probably, and I just want to touch on what you say before. You know, I think you got time. And this is what I kind of learned about life as an entrepreneur. You either got time or money. The one you use more of costs you less of the other. If you use your time, you'll save your money. If you use your money, you'll save your time. Money, you know, comes and goes, but time, you know, you obviously never get it back. But as far as the challenges and roadblocks that I think, you know, people could face maybe is really just closing your first deal, right? Like actually like a childhood friend of mine is doing this business, and he's known and literally probably watched me do this. And like we've grown up with him, and he's been watching me do this for years, and he's getting into it now. And obviously he has my guidance to a little bit more advanced degree. But what I would say is kind of just doing your first deal, like buying your first set of boxes. It's a pretty simple concept. Like I said, once you do more information and do your due diligence, and you know, obviously check those resources down below so you could really do your research, because I think before you get into anything, you should really research it before you just jump into something. Is kind of foolish in my opinion. You should do your due diligence, do your research. But what I would say is the hardest thing about this business that people could face is probably just doing your first deal, getting your first set of product and actually having a proven concept. Because however you look at it from the exit, you know, from the outside in, like, hey, this is really, I think this is going to be really easy. This is a huge opportunity, or hey, this may be a bit challenging. But with anything, with it, whether it's YouTube, whether it's, you know, delivery drivers, when you actually have a proven concept, I think that could be a big challenge for anybody in any business, because you don't know if it's going to happen, you know, this week, this month, in a month. And I tell people, hey, you know, in the first month, you usually can expect somewhere between, and this is not guaranteed, but in the first month or by the end of day 30, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 profit. Could be less, could be more. By the end of month 2 or by day 60, you know, 1,000 to 1,500 to maybe 2,000 in profit. And then by day, you know, 90, you know, more or less. It could build up. I've seen people their first month do 5,000, you know, 10,000. But obviously, I'm not going to tell you month 1 you're going to get a Lambo. Month 2 you're going to get a mansion. You know, you have to build it up over time. But I know people. I just spoke to a student of mine yesterday who he started in April, and now he's doing. Last month he did 10,900 profit. So you could really build this up. But I think the hardest thing about this is really getting that proven concept. Because it's a simple concept, sometimes getting that proof of concept can be a little bit more difficult.
And there is something to be said. I appreciate you sharing that, Felix. That's, you know, my job here, folks, is to find you some money opportunities. And as we scale and grow in 2023, yes, there's these side hustle apps, folks. There's DoorDash, there's Uber Eats, yes. But we talk about the trajectory of money. Like, what's the highest earners making on that kind of stuff? Like 35, 40, like maybe 60 an hour for like just maybe an hour or two. So I really want to focus on building your wealth and having other opportunities that you really have more control over. This is why we're bringing real estate to you. I'm aiming at Q3, Q4 of this year, and having people like Felix on the channel. Like, what else can we do, man? Like, what can we really do to give you watching this more opportunities to be in charge of your income versus just clicking that go online button, which is fine, folks. It's fine, whatever your number you're trying to hit, but I just want to give you more opportunities. Felix, I'm going to give you one more word here. I just have one more question. But the reason I had you on is, like, you're not new to this. You've been doing this stuff for years. The channel and more linked down below, folks. You can see actual testimonials, like Felix mentioned, from students. This isn't like, you know, just I started this thing yesterday. You'll see tons of testimonials. I wanted to ask you, like, how many people do you think you've helped directly with your resources, or even indirectly, just kind of giving info? How many people do you think you've helped with this hustle over the years? And maybe some last words for our viewers.
Yeah, I would definitely say probably a couple hundred at least. You know, and I'm talking about people who have really taken action, because, you know, I think a lot of people, and that's, you know, why some videos on YouTube will have millions of views, is people will watch it, but I want to hear about the people who actually, you know, implement it. The people like for your channel who download the apps and say, hey, you know, I make 3,000 a month from Uber Eats or whatever it is. So same with this, I would say definitely a couple hundred. In, you know, from my experience and from talking with other people in this industry, there's only about like 1,000 or maybe a little bit more as far as how many people actually do this business inside the country. So it's not like there's 20,000 people flipping diabetic medical commodities or diabetic testing supplies. It's a pretty hunched down niche business, but definitely a couple hundred. And then as far as final words, I would say, you know, this business can really do a little for you, or it could do a lot for you. When I got into it, I never had the idea that it would do what it did for me. I was kind of just looking to supplement my income, because what I was trying to build was taking way too long. And this came into my lap and I ran with it. And, you know, I do very well with it, over 10,000 a month in profit. Some people just do it to supplement their income and make an extra 500 a week. And I know people who I've taught that actually make more than me. Some of my students actually took this to insane levels and blew right past me. And now I got to play catch up, which is going to happen in 2023. But yeah, I would say do your research, do your due diligence, whether it's this, whether it's something else on Mike's channel. Make sure you do your research and make sure you feel confident when you get into it. And whatever you get into, don't stop until you get your results. Don't quit at the first roadblock or the first challenge. Always, you know, go all in till you get the results that you want to see. But make sure you do your research, do your due diligence, and that can be done with the links below.
100%. I mean, perfectly said, folks. And I like the fact, Felix, that you said it's not oversaturated. Like, think about it, folks. How many people, like millions, because we've seen it in these quarterly earnings called millions of people dash. Millions of people work on Uber Eats. And look, if this isn't for you, that's cool. Chances are you're probably not even watching this video at this point. But real estate, maybe that's not for you. Maybe it is. But again, just simply unturning the stones for you. That's what I want to do here on the channel, just to simply give you the resources. And as that word says right here, we're a team. I am one person. You need to do that back end of the work. Do the due diligence is what we teach here. E3, educate on a revenue stream, execute on it, and expand. Look at more revenue streams, combining active and semi-passive revenue streams. This has been great, Felix. I mean, we're just scratching the surface. Maybe we'll have you on again. Let us know down below, folks. And do check out those resources down below. I think that's going to be very helpful if this is something you're interested in. Felix, thanks for being on the channel today.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Folks, drop a like on this video if you could. Again, my name is Mike. I help you make money in different side hustles. I'm committed to doing that for 2023, 24, 25 years to come here. Plus new stuff. Obviously, we got to keep it fresh for you. Come on. Drop a like on this video if you got value. You can also click or tap the screen here for my newest video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.